All right. Hi, folks. We're live. All right. Hi, guys. This is Mike Marleau coming to you live from the Lala offices. I changed the venue, changed the place where I usually do these presentations with a different background in the back. Listen, I'm happy to have a good buddy of mine on board with us today. Anthony, known each other for a couple of years. Maybe introduce yourself and
Yep.
what you do with your company, with Momentum.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. Hello to everyone that's joining. I don't see the numbers, but be interesting to see how many people are watching us. Yeah, my name is Anthony Guilhem. I own Momentum Digital, which is a digital marketing agency. In a nutshell, we basically help businesses through a variety of services to increase, reach, leads, conversions, growth. Yeah, through digital marketing. That's the easiest way to put it.
All right, all right. Listen, for me, what was important, I thought that it was a good segment and good subject matter,
Mhm.
because I've done business with Anthony in the past, quite a few projects that we worked on for the
Yep.
past 4 years. Anthony's got a bit more insight into modern MSP. MSP, IT related, IT services, and so forth.
Yep.
And So that's why I thought it would be a good guest on board, because I wanted to talk about digital marketing and the challenges for the modern MSP. All right.
Yep.
And I wanted Anthony to come on board and for us to chat about these various challenges. Listen, every industry it has their own challenges, and what are those that might be specific to the MSP model? And when I'm talking MSP model, we're talking about modern IT service provider that has to differentiate themselves and everything, and how big a challenge that is.
Yep.
So I wanted to jump in right away. This is not going to be a marketing 101 course, right? But I did want to go over maybe a couple of marketing basics for MSPs, but also in general, in terms of, again, we're not talking about flyers anymore, right? And there was a time when you'd set up a nice website and you're good to go. That's Let's just say that's part of the solution. So I wanted to talk to you about real quick. Okay, you've got an MSP, you want to put the word out there, you want to differentiate yourselves, right? What are the marketing basics that you're looking at right now? What should be looking
Yeah.
at? Yeah.
Well, I get words a word of introduction. I guess I worked as a marketing manager for an MSP. Obviously, that's where we met. And marketing basics, as far as especially now, right, of going digital is never overlooking, first of all, brand, and also the quality of a website. And it's funny, there's so many MSPs that I speak with that they go something like, yeah, well, I don't need to have a known brand, right? And my website does the job, and I'm not looking for brand nor awareness. I'm looking for leads. Well, and I think I talked to you about that earlier, or in the previous chat. Is I loved what Gary Vaynerchuk said in one of his numerous amount of videos online. Is who makes the best fries in the world, or I guess who makes the best burgers in the world? And that's a question anybody taste would change, right? As far as the answer.
Yeah.
And again, you switch that question to who sells the most fries in the world, or the most burgers in the world, and the answer is so simple: it's McDonald's. Why?
There you go.
Brand is so strong. They're everywhere. Brand is out there. Everybody knows them. They're relatable, and they've made it out there. And it's true that an MSP marketing play will not be purely brand. It will never be.
Mhm.
But most of, for example, the campaigns that we run, we see that there's a direct impact with the brand awareness and the results, or yeah, the results of a campaign. Because if the brand's already known, or the brand has good reviews and is out there, and actually some MSPs do this very well by even branding their services, right? They're not managed services. They are uh, I don't have an example, or actually I don't want to kind of to talk about an example, but they're caffeine services, whatever it might be. It's just right there. There's a small differentiator. It's not managed services, because managed services, if you're not in tech, like, what the
Yeah.
hell does that mean,
You have to
right?
explain it, right? You're
Yeah,
you're having to teach it. sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So right off the bat, when your brand as an MSP starts to get known, I think it's super important. It's one thing Mike Ridge does very well in Canada, right? The Mike Ridge brand is well known. But then afterwards, it's making sure that, at the end of the day, to gather leads, to gather new clients, to get yourself out there. People will your website will be the router for everything, right? They'll look at your website, they'll look at your social presence, etc. And you never want to overlook these. If I was actively looking for, changing IT supplier, or saying I need an IT supplier, I can't do this myself anymore, whatever the case may be, right? Depending on the actual client size you're going for, and you land on a website. I learned way back in university, something like a bad website experience goes something like: I came, I puked, I left. Unfortunately, it happens too much. Pardon me for the wording there, but if the website experience right from the get-go doesn't build trust, doesn't give me right information, I can't look at your website on mobile.
Okay.
Whatever it might be, it breaks your efforts right there.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second, okay? Because
Mm-hmm.
I remember having various discussions in the past listen, a website is never a finished product. As soon as
Unfortunately.
it's conceptualized, it's out there. You already know there's certain things you wanted to add to it, right? But my take is function over style, in terms of not necessarily having to create the Mona Lisa, right?
Yep.
You're not trying to recreate. You're trying to, as you said earlier, brand is one thing, but however, explaining your services, because if people come to your website and basically look at a couple of things and they're still wondering, okay, what do these guys do? They take you by the hand to nurture you to a certain journey or something, or are they actually going to be in tune with what my business needs? And these are the guys that I should be talking to, right?
Yep.
So again, branding is a bit of the start. The website is your billboard, is basically what you put out there, right? Now, in terms of the basics, your website is there to not convert a sale. It's basically to generate interest for a discussion, right?
Yeah, that's its only purpose.
Okay, so basically everything, like you said, should lead to the website, but also
Mm-hmm.
very important in this day, and actually it's the next segment that we'll dive into, which has to do with the various different channels out there to basically to help out your website do what its job is supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, if I can jump on this, before we kind of move on, you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, most MSPs will not need the best looking and
mhm,
crazy effects website, right? I think there's two exercises there as far as marketing. You want to do the customer persona or customer avatar exercise, right? And you want to make sure, okay, who am I speaking to?
okay,
Am I speaking to, a local target audience, the local business owner? Am I more of an enterprise player or a specialist player, right? Some cloud or some
mhm,
security service provider will be more towards, these IT managers, these CSOs, etc. I think that obviously you want your style and your look and feel to be good, but it doesn't need to be
yeah,
like the greatest website on earth, right? But I think that'll just guide you through how do I make sense of it, right? Who am I
yeah,
speaking to? What should I put, up front? And there's different strategies, right? Some, whether they're landing pages or website, some go directly with a sales-oriented message, which is fine sometimes, right? In some other way, you might go in a purely kind of informational basis where you have a ton of content, you might have blogs, you might have these ebooks, you might just be explaining your services in more layman terms rather than more technical
okay,
terms, because you know that your persona will resonate a little more with that type of content.
yeah.
So yeah, I think that's definitely the key. But
So
it's
do your
it's it's
research.
too often, yeah, and it's too often overlooked.
Yeah, it's
I've,
over. A
I've
lot of times, I think a lot of times when you get into a subject, you try to look at your website to represent you instead of doing exactly what you said, which is look at what your customer needs, look at what their challenges are, and try to address that to first off, like show that you know about their business. Actually, brings it to the next segment because I think it has to do with the typical. Basically, making sense of the different varieties of channels to
Mhm.
use to get your message out there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we said it, talked about it. The website is the basic, is it's got a function to do, but the very variety of channels for me is daunting, because when I look at it, all right, you can do like pay-per-clicks, SEOs. They probably still work for websites. However, there's so many different channels: YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. You've got, I think YouTube is the second largest like search engine in the world, right?
It is.
And it just becomes, I think it just becomes daunting when when you're trying to put a message out there, and you figure you can't hit every pitch, right? You can't be out there on every single channel. Oh, get the budget for sure, but it has to do with right now what resonates, right? I mean, can you like decipher like what are the important pieces of those different channels to lead to your website?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're right. I mean, in an ideal world, right, where budget is not a question, you want to be everywhere, right? And you want to nail it down. And then again, for most and for almost all businesses, you want to pick your battles, right? I think for one, you want to go back to the customer persona, right? Where is your audience more? Sorry about that. Is more likely to view your content and either digest it or click on it, right? For a lot of MSPs, that might be LinkedIn as far as social content. I always like to say it's a step-by-step process, and it always depends, obviously, for an MSP, kind of where are you right now, right? If you're starting from zero, for example, I think the first, and you mentioned it, right? I think the first channel that you want to nail is search, Google and Bing for a small percentage.
Very small.
Yeah, pretty small.
Hold on a second. Have you changed religion? Because I remember you telling me like if it ain't Google, it's you know.
Well, I don't have the exact stats. Google is still like I believe like 90 or 95% of search traffic, right? But I mean, you don't necessarily want to overlook the 5%, right? Obviously, if you were to concentrate your efforts, you're gonna nail the 90% first. But you know what I mean. Because I think search, both SEO, so from an organic or a paid through Google Ads perspective, is I believe for everyone the first source of I'm looking for a solution. I'm looking for making an IT plan. I'm looking for help desk services. I'm looking for I have a problem. I'm looking for a solution. If you're able to consistently position your MSP on search, and there's a challenge with this, right? The MSP, like as far as a technical marketing perspective, the cost per lead or cost per conversion for an MSP is incredibly high compared to other industries, just because there's a lot of competition for one. Everybody knows someone that's good at computers. Then again, how much are you willing to invest for something that's a bit more of a business service that's another level? But I think search is definitely the first one to nail down, because every day, everyone or almost anyone is looking for a problem or for a solution to their problem. And then there's a whole exercise of what are you targeting, where are you targeting, what answers are you answering, what questions are you answering, and etc. But definitely PPC and SEO being kind of the main ones.
Okay. Go ahead. So basically, the SEO part has to do with conceptualization. So it has to be reviewed on a regular basis, just for natural SEO, right? Pay-per-click is something different. I think we don't need to educate everybody on the fact of paying for a certain number. However, let's say you have a marketing strategy, a web for your website. It's good to put a bit in each, right? Or is it better to say, you know what, this piece is something that, you know what, I'm going to stretch my dollars to the limit with this, might as well put it into another bucket.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we were to compare SEO and paid, the difference is pretty straightforward. I always think SEO is basically like compound. It's like investing money, right? It's compound interest. If it's properly done regularly and ongoing, you'll acquire a little more traffic and a little more traffic and a little more traffic, and you can qualify that traffic and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, I mean, you could stop doing SEO, but ideally it's a never-ending game because you can always improve, right? Paid is different in a matter of hours, days. you'll be positioned depending on your budget on specific keywords, and then it's a matter of tweaking the whole strategy or the whole campaign. Then I mean, second I think are free channels, right? So social,
Okay.
obviously, and people say a lot, Instagram and Facebook, for example, are not good for us, and you might be right. Then again, if people were going to do research and if they want to relate to your brand, chances are these two more personal channels are very important, and they're free to start posting and start building an audience. Then LinkedIn becomes obviously the obvious answer. It's the king of B2B.
Yeah.
It's where you'll be able to share more of that maybe business content. Then again, you never want to kind of overlook that human side aspect. But these obviously, social is super important. I think one super overlooked channel also, which is not free unless you don't have a lot of subscribers, a lot of emails, and you start paying for the amount of emails depending on what services you use. But I think email marketing is still super strong for MSPs because, as you know, the key for an MSP is how deep can you go in an account, right? This client might be buying, XYZ solution from you, but maybe he's going to need a computer refresh or a server refresh, or he might move to the cloud, or whatever the case may be. You want to have continuous kind of touch points with these people, your current clients, your prospect, if you have a newsletter sign up or an ebook or whatever, and that's super overlooked because it is a bit time consuming, of course, and you need to have valuable information that you need to have prepared and published up front to then send it through email.
Yeah.
But it's cheap. You're looking at services that cost what, $20 a month for a few thousand subscribers, and you can hit these people again and again, bring them back to your website. They might start from a client that consumes a little bit from you to buying a whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, let's stop you right there. Okay.
Yeah.
You've already hit on quite a few channels. Okay. And which is great. That's exactly, you made my point in terms of there's so many channels out there. Obviously, email is a given. I think if you have a customer database, if you're not keeping in touch with them on a regular basis, just like, hey, here's what's new at my company at ABC Computers or at MicroAge, and saying, okay, like, listen, here's a blog article or stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And right now, there's a lot of curated content out there that you can actually get and mix in there to at least keep up the cadence, because that's one thing is to create the first contact with your customer, but a lot of times that contact is going to lead to your website, but the sales cycle for an MSP account or for IT issue or for anything can be very, very long. So you actually have to hook them and be able to be on a regular basis. So that regularity is, I think, is a bit of a challenge. Listen, if you're only doing one channel, if you're only like, carpet bombing LinkedIn specifically, it's an easier task. But when you're actually okay, I'm trying to do a bit of email, a bit of LinkedIn. Hey, you know what? I tried my bit with Facebook or whatever. Plus, I have a lead gen company. I'm paying for pay per click. Whatever. All those things, it can get very daunting. In terms of the complete variety of channels. So you spoke about LinkedIn. I mean, listen, I'm a big fan. People who know me know I'm all about LinkedIn. However, there you go. However, there are certain limits. LinkedIn is at a base a social media platform. And whenever you put out there a message that sells, right, you're trying to sell your product, it just doesn't take off. It's just got very little traction.
Yeah,
right?
People see you coming from a mile away.
So basically, and even then, the algorithms with LinkedIn just don't support you. Right, you're trying to sell a product. They're just like, unless you get like 15 to 20 likes right off the bat, it's just going to be like be left alone, right?
It's going to die, yeah.
So hence the social aspect. So now we're adding another dimension to presenting your services, right? Because we're not just about telling people how good we are, how we can take care of your business and everything. Now it's becoming more of a social message to say, hey, look how fun we are. We identify, we made you laugh and something like that, right? how do you deal with that, right? Because all of a sudden it seems like it's like two different messages from having, right? Can you address?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a tight question. I don't think there's like a silver bullet or a perfect answer. But you'll see it most of the time, and I think you'll see it on your LinkedIn, and I see it on my LinkedIn all the time. The posts with the biggest amount of reach, and that's part is the LinkedIn algorithm, right? First of all, they're made from people, and they're not made from companies, right?
Exactly.
It's how the LinkedIn algorithm work. It's people networking at scale, right? I mean, that's what social media is all about, and LinkedIn is a little, has a very specific way of doing things with their algorithm. But I think you never want to. Of course, at some point you want to sell or you want to position your services. Sure, but you'll see it all the time. The companies post, especially your personal posts, that drive the more engagement and likes and clicks and messages and whatnot. They are personal messages, or they speak about, there's been COVID, right? There's still COVID. Our company has given XYZ or that amount to our local community to help, whatever. These posts that are not about your services, that are not about they are a little bit about your logo, but that are not about positioning yourself out there as a thought leader, but just saying, hey, this is who we are, a company, this is what we believe in, this is what we do. They work better. And because it's the people to people network. And at the end of the day, it's just, people buy from people, right? So if you're able to have that personal connection, I think, down the line, it'll never be an immediate return on investment, but down the line, it comes back to brand, I'd be very curious. I've never done the exercise, but now that we're speaking about it, I'd be curious to kind of poke MSP clients or clients of MSPs rather, and ask them, what made you buy from us? And it could be, listen, I love the sales rep, or I love your values, or I love the way you're transparent about my stuff. I'm probably sure this is probably more top of mind than your services are well packaged, or you have 10,000 certifications, or the price. I think that human aspect is, once again, super overlooked, super important, right? Seeing the people behind the brand. I think that. But you're right. It's hard depending on the size of an MSP. It's hard to make a sense and just be out there all the time. But I think the key is consistency. Obviously, you want to be out there as much as possible.
But when you talk, exactly. But when you're talking about, that's the thing. When we're talking about social, anything that's social media based, I think it's a bit of a different spin, right? It's a bit of the recipe or the ingredients change a bit, where it's a bit of a different message. That's how it basically becomes even more complicated when you're trying to build a marketing message. Okay, but anything that has social, you have to have a little bit more of homegrown, local-based. Like personally, listen, of course, everybody knows I work for Microage. I work with Microage. We have 37 locations, actually 38, news coming soon. Anyways, but basically, but the thing is, I mean, sure, we got a national website and everyone has their own individual website. But when it comes to social media, it's yes, we can put content out there, but at the end of the day, if the LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, I mean, if there's not local based, if the news that they're putting out there or the content that they're putting out there is not about the local charities they support, local town aspect or proximity aspect, then it gets basically that the social messaging it's let's just say it doesn't deliver the same impact. So for that aspect, I'm more of the school of saying, anything that has to do with social media, yes, I mean, Microage from a national perspective, we sprinkled in some content. We make sure there's a strong base, but what really makes them differentiate themselves on social has to do with their local aspect. They have to do with the engagement they have, local charity or stuff like that, right? And that's
and that's because it's a regional play or a local play. So it comes back to your customer persona, who you're speaking with, right? Exactly. If you were an enterprise level MSP, that talk is completely different, right? Then again, you don't want to overlook that human aspect side of things. But you're absolutely right.
Yeah. All right. So basically, let's move on to third segment. Okay. Basically, as a starting point. Okay. Now we talked about all this variety of channels, the importance of the website, the branding, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And now it's more about okay, maximizing your impact, right? Splash or consistency. Trying to differentiate yourself within a budget, and now all of a sudden becomes more a question of okay, I've got so many tools available to me. I mean, there's never been. I think well, there's never been the same thing could be said in a couple of years, but there's never been as many possibilities to get your message out there right now.
Yeah.
And it's actually very democratic in the sense that it's actually quite affordable because well you still have to deliver, but I mean you know what I mean basically
Yeah.
to gain traction on these different channels it's somewhat affordable, but it's still so complicated. So A, B's, and C's, you know, other than hiring momentum, well, that could be an option, right? That could be an option for sure. But other than going out there and finding, it could be part of the solution. Where do you start? What's the, you know?
Yeah, well, I guess that answer or that question and that answer is different from where are you right now, right? It might be starting from the ground up, rebuilding your site, and then working on search. It might be looking at what's working right now and tweaking and taking some things off and playing with budget. Then again, I think, like you said, splash versus consistency. Consistency, I believe, is always going to be key. If you speak on search or social, for example, there's people looking out there for solutions every single day. The matter is, can you be there at the right time? Ideally, right?
Mhm.
Um, it's not obviously like it used to be, and it still is the case where you pay, you know, tens of thousands of dollars for a big billboard on you know, next to your biggest highway and hope, you know,
Yeah.
something comes out of it, right? You also have right now with digital marketing the ability of measuring, you know, is there increase in traffic? Are we getting more traction? And obviously, budget is going to differ. It is going to differ, and everything's going to change. Obviously, if you're able to invest $5,000 a month or 50 grand a year versus $5,000 a year, well, obviously you're going to get more results, whatever channel you use. But yeah, I think consistency and a lot of times it comes down to doing baby steps, right? It
Mhm.
could start with, you know, let's start with this, and it's never, especially for MSPs, because I think there's two time constraints. First of all, getting leads takes a bit of time and it's expensive.
Yep.
Then again, as you know more than I do, is the sales cycle of an MSP is it's never going to be you get a call, hey, that's the price, okay, let's go. I mean, it never happens like that. It takes meetings, it takes presentation, it takes audits, it takes a lot of things, and you're looking at weeks, months before you get a client, but it's looking, I believe, in long-term ROI as well, right? So by being consistent and by controlling your numbers or controlling your math and looking as, okay, if I spend X on a year, how much, what's the lifetime value of a client, right? And you're able, I mean, if you have the tools, you can look at how much is the typical client bringing you over, call it, I don't know, a 3, 4, 5 year span. And then these numbers start making sense because it's not going to be like the local dentist or the local chiro where you have a problem, you need a solution, you're going to go there, it's going to cost you a few $100 and you're fixed. It's over, right? You
Yep.
start going into the account and over time you'll have the opportunity to sell more and more stuff, whether it's, you know, increasing the amount of users or subscription or going from network management to a cloud migration project, whatever it
Yeah.
might be. And I think consistency and looking at value over time of an account is key in at least your KPIs. And where to start, like I said, to go back to circle back to your question is where are you at right now?
Hmm.
What's the next logical goal, and kind of reverse engineering this, you know, where do you want to go in 12 months realistically speaking?
Hmm.
Okay, that's the goal, right? What's the budget? And a lot of time that's super overlooked. I think MSPs, I don't remember the exact number, but typically spend like 1 to 3%
Yeah, I know.
of their profit or revenue through marketing.
Actually,
But they,
I think you're pushing it with 3%, but that's fine.
yeah, but they're looking for growth, like if they were investing 10 or 20%.
Yeah.
Truth is, if you want exponential growth, you might want to jack out these numbers, right? You
Yeah.
want to do it smartly. You don't want to say, okay, I've got, you know, 50 grand to spend. I'm going to do this big splash and this and this. No, you still want to be smart about it. But yeah,
I think
it all depends.
one thing you just touched on, a lot of discussions that I've had with a lot of MSPs and IT resellers, is that a lot of them, they tend to have a certain view of like a set capacity that they have, right? Where basically a lot of them do not invest in marketing quite a bit, other than, I don't know, retweaking the website and, sending out maybe a newsletter or something like that.
Local golf tournament.
Exactly. And the thing is, and those are more like basically, I don't need to invest in marketing. I get referrals and stuff like that. And for me, it just like, it doesn't come out right. I mean, I feel like basically, no, hold on a second. If you're a business owner and you're saying that you don't need to do marketing because you already get enough business from referral, I think at a certain place, it's kind of complacent. Right. And it's kind of like adapting your sale. It's basically limiting your capacity to sell based on what you can take on. And it's true. A lot of IT business owners have felt it. Is one of the biggest challenges for in the IT world in the last 2 years, 3 years has been HR, has been about managing that growth and onboarding new staff, training them, bringing them on board, and making sure that they stay on board. It's such a huge investment that all of a sudden, a lot of them are like, basically, wait a minute, we can't take on new business. So what we're doing, we're basically turning off the key in terms of budget, marketing budget, right?
Yeah.
And I've kind of had more of a different view to say, no. I mean, I'm sorry. That's a good problem to have. You got to beef up your back end. You have to be able to deliver more. You can't put the brakes on sales. I mean, it just...
Yeah. Well, I think, in all honesty, I think there's like two answers to that. First of all, is as far as a business owner, if you're comfortable, right, with where you are and you're not looking for growth, which is possible, I guess, right? Then, what really can you say? Then again, depending on your churn rate, so you're probably gaining and losing clients, right, on a regular basis or on a yearly basis, which is just the real math
natural attrition.
And I mean, the HR problem for service providers, myself included, I think is a national challenge, right? So I don't think that's going to change. But yeah, ideally, depending on your objectives, I think you always want to at least put some fuel in that growth. You might be, like you said, you might be at a place where, listen, if I get a new client tomorrow, I can sell him, everything. Then again, how can I deliver? And that's, like you said, I think it's a good problem to have, because if you're looking for growth, you'll find ways to hire, or you'll find ways.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I mean, there's two schools of thoughts here. Yes, there's the fact about adding new business, but by investing in marketing, there's also the quality of your services. Being able to add services that aren't necessarily going to be time consuming, going to put a strain on your business, or are simply going to by putting it out there, you're actually going to raise the bar, raise the awareness of your brand, so that you'll be able to charge more. And if you're able to charge more, bring in more staff. So I think that, listen, I think it's more about adapting your budget to say, okay, what do I need? Do I need more customers right now? Is it like lead generation? Or is it more a question of, oh, you know what? Let's try to focus on the customers we have, trying to maximize the return we have on these customers. And also or to say, let's put it out there. Let's raise the bar. Let's raise the value of the brand by perception, by putting educational content out there. Right.
And there's also another thing, which is, for example, if you were looking for growth, but you can't hire, and then you say, I don't want to do marketing because, I have an HR problem. Well, marketing will help you recruit. Yeah. I mean, and you might actually do, as bogus as it sounds, you might actually HR campaigns, right? You might actually invest in promoting your job posts, right? You might actually invest in, as far as a marketing play. I've heard that in one of the local suppliers here, they one of their marketing campaigns is not about how great their services are. It's about the quality of, salary and job qualities that they're offering, so that they can recruit. So it's still a marketing play, and you're not saying how great your services are. Then again, what you're saying out there is, listen, I'm recruiting, and it's bringing a two-level message, right? What perception do you think it's giving out there that you're publicly saying we're growing, we're hiring. Well, people are still hearing about your brand, and
makes sense.
well, that company's growing. They're probably good. Maybe I should reach out to them. And you're kind of hitting both nails at the same time, right? So ideally, I think you want to use one for the other and back and forth, because I think they go hand in hand. And this is where brand comes back in, right? And building your brand.
As long as you tie it to the brand, as long as it's good, it's in good taste, like you say, I think it's a good idea. But basically, if you need to hire, set up some YouTube videos, or basically put it out there that you need staff, that you're hiring and growing and everything. As long as it's done with taste and leads back to your brand, it's still branding. It's still just like branding it.
It is, and we talked about pay-per-click, right? We've done pay-per-click campaigns where it's not a lead generation play. It was getting candidates. So instead of bidding, for example, on IT support in my city, right, or whatever your strategy is, we made a campaign purposely for, I believe they were looking for IT admins and network admins, right?
Okay.
And we were bidding on these keywords to say we're recruiting, great job salaries, great job position, possibilities of growth, etc. And it doesn't become a lead generation play, but I mean, it's still marketing. It's still the lead generation channels. And guess what? It's a completely different KPI for success. Is how many candidates am I getting in? Because I need, I don't know, 2 network admins tomorrow morning, because I'm loaded with my clients. So I think they both go hand in hand.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. Well, like I say, it goes back to the social media aspect that we talked about. I mean, there's something about the people that are working for you, the people you're trying to hire, and that's that brings us to another total discussion on culture, on employee and client and company culture and everything. But
we could do a part 2. It'd go there for a while.
Yeah, we can be there for a long time. So let's say, for example, let's just go back real quick to sign off with after this. Let's say I'm a small MSP, right? I'm a small MSP. I've got 5, 6, 7 employees, all right? And I'm trying to differentiate myself out there. I don't have a huge budget. I don't have a lot of MDF funds available from various suppliers and vendors. And I want to be able to make a bit of a splash, but I want to be able to put it out there on a regular basis. And let's just say, okay, I got my website. Of course, I can allocate some money to make it nicer, to beef it up, to make it better. What's my play to differentiate myself? Should I, go for splash, go for substance, education piece? I mean, knowing that, there's so many different possibilities out there.
Yeah. Well, if you don't have a huge budget, I don't think splash is your answer, because splash typically rhymes with expensive, right?
There you go. Yep.
I'd say it would be going strategic and specific, right? If you're not at a brand play, or if you had a piece, it's for example, do you have a tailored offer for nonprofits, for lawyers, for accountants? Okay, you might be able to build a personalized experience, make that a few blog articles, a few ebooks and testimonials of clients that you have, a specific landing page, a specific paid campaign where you're not looking at volume and numbers, but small numbers, small incremental numbers. Okay. I think that would probably be a smart play.
Like a drip, more like a drip approach to spread it out.
Not necessarily a drip approach, but for example, a very specific, because the larger you go, the more you need to spend, right? I mean, and chances are you can't be everything to everyone, right? So maybe going, okay, for example, I have, 5 accounting clients. They're very profitable. They all like our services. I want more of these guys, right? Okay. Great. Why don't you tailor some marketing efforts towards more local accountants or regional or whatever, right? You already have the clients, so the logos you can use. You might be able to get some testimonials, whether they're text, videos, whatever. Yeah. And you already have the expertise. So instead of going IT support at large or whatever, why don't you try going for accountant-specific marketing tasks?
So get strategic within certain verticals. Try to build some momentum within a specific vertical.
I like the use of momentum in your sentence.
Oh,
but yeah,
there.
yeah, I think, you know, it's not going to be a magic switch, right? But I think it's a smart play to go strategic, niche, and sometimes just expanding on that. And you might be working on two niches at the same time, right? And you're not necessarily married to them either, right? But I think as far as on a budget, that might be it. Or you might be exceptionally good at, I don't know, Microsoft 365 or Microsoft Azure. Why don't you push that and use that as a feed of entry? I think it's going strategic about either a specific service, a specific offer, a specific piece of content or specific niche, and kind of using that and you know, leveraging. Okay, you know, going that way will bring X ROI. We take some of that and pocket it in, and we reinvest some of that to expand and so on and so forth. And that's where it comes back to baby steps, right? I mean, it's too easy for me to tell a marketing or an MSP, listen, you need $5,000, we'll get you started on every channel. Okay, great. Chances are they might not have $5,000 a month to invest, right? So, you know, what are you willing to invest? What are these KPIs to success, and how can you dissect them in strategic segments? I think that. Yeah, and you know, make a snowball effect out of it, right? Okay. Start small, and that snowball will get bigger and bigger, and you want to nurture that beast, and so on and so forth.
So there you have it, folks. I mean, basically, if you want a bit more of that, I mean, Anthony's been working with a bunch of different MSPs at different sizes, so he's definitely he can definitely how do I say it, guide you. Be able to guide you through those steps to maybe, I don't know, give it a little push or just like give it a little nudge to take it in a new direction or maximize at what you do good and put the word out there, right? That's what you guys do.
Yeah, and I mean, we really like to work, you know, one-on-one with our clients. We don't really believe in a cookie cutter approach, but really looking at, okay, you know, what's your specific reality? Where do we start tailoring the right strategy depending on two factors like, you know, region, budget, specific niches, etc. And then, you know, building that snowball effect with our clients. And we really care deeply, and, you know, we try to make it work.
All right.
To put it in those words.
So there you have it, folks. Listen, you see Anthony's email here at the bottom. But you know what? If you want to get in contact with him, just give me a shout. Send me like I don't know, smoke signals, carrier pigeon, whatever it may be. I'll get you in touch with Anthony. He can definitely maybe he can help you out. And
smoke signals are probably not the right way to go with the fires in the West. But
yeah, there you go. So thanks for being on board, Anthony. It's been great, and I really appreciate it. And I hope a couple of attendees that we had appreciated a bit of the insights that you might have to share, especially within the MSP world. That's been awesome.
Yeah.
So, thanks, all right. So bye, folks. You know what? We'll sign off now. So look forward to the next segment. And Anthony, thanks for being on board.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Ciao.